Yo, dudes, welcome back. This is Verdicks. I got Nick, Brian, aka the B Man, and Denny here. D Man, what's shaking?
Too much. What's going on with you guys?
Same shit, different day.
Yeah, just getting back from soccer practice where I am the assistant coach. Thank God I didn't take the full coaching responsibilities because I don't think I would make it.
I agree, man. Coaching is it's not for the faint of heart, for sure. It has to be something that you're bought into from the get-go. Otherwise, you might realize you made the biggest mistake of your life and it's far too late to quit.
Well, I think I got into it the way a lot of people get into it. You sign your kid up in the local township Parks and Rec League, and then 2 weeks later, they're like, we're not going to have a league unless there are coaches. We need coaches because nobody really wants to do it. So I said, well, I could be an assistant coach because I don't want the responsibility like emailing parents and worrying about masks and all that other nonsense. But as an assistant coach, what it turns out is that I just micromanage my kids and let the other kids do whatever the hell they want. So not being real effective, which leads us to tonight's topic. We found on, what was it, activekids.com had a list of 15 ways to improve your coaching your own child and coaching in general. For me, coaching isn't as rewarding as I would think it is. I don't really have the patience for it, and I don't think I'll be coaching in the future. What about you guys?
I'm actually I'm the opposite. I don't mind doing it. I don't want to be the number one in charge. Uh, I do like being out there working as an assistant because it's at one time of the day or one time during the week where I can just kind of like I'm trying to help someone out and I'm just being cool with these kids, joking around with them, having fun. And so I actually enjoy that because there's no stress of anything else going on.
Yeah, there's part of me that is jealous of the parent on the sideline who's just sitting in their, Dick's Sporting Goods fold-out chair and looking at their cell phone. Because while I'm out there yelling at kids, they're actually getting an hour to just do what they want to do. So I'm a little bit more interested in that side of things.
Let's be real though. If you're on the sideline, you're probably just surfing Twitter and other Instagram BS instead of doing something productive.
Yeah, well, I'll have to post a picture on Instagram of how great my kid is doing.
Yeah,
while he hasn't been on the field in an hour because he sucks.
I mean, that's the funny thing. Like, so, my little one's too young for me to be like a coach for any sport that she would have the opportunity to do right now. She's too young for the sports. But I've coached several like teams where, I had no relation to anybody on the team, like swim teams, a high school swim team, and then like a summer swim team. So kids all the way up from like, 5 to 18, and then exclusive high school kids. And I think coaching is a whole different experience if you don't have, like a rugrat on the team. Like it's kind of cool. And it's also kind of wild to think back when, Joe and I were the coaches for like Lanark Country Club. And we were like 17 or 18 in charge of like parents entrusted like all of these kids to us, like travel meets. Like we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't know how to fill out the paperwork for like the events before the swim meet. Like it was crazy to think the amount of responsibility that we had in both of those situations. But it's also a completely different experience if it's in that sort of venue. So I love coaching. Like I love it. I don't know if I'll love it when I have to do it or if I get dragged into doing it like you guys are right now. Because I can see exactly what you're talking about with some of the other experiences I've had so far, trying to quote unquote coach or teach, my little one now.
Yeah. I think that we've all come to the conclusion that our children are not going to listen to us. And no matter how much we try to effectively communicate, the message just gets blocked out because of the relationship. The minute you bring in a teacher for swim lessons or for baseball practice, the kids dial into that differently. And I think that's really the big barrier, is that the pre-existing relationship doesn't allow for the learning to pass on.
Yeah, which kind of stinks at the same time, because when it's a sport that you enjoy playing and enjoy watching, you know a lot about, you want to like show them that and share that same excitement. And when they don't want to hear from you, yeah, you're just kind of like, "Oh man, I got a lot of cool stuff I want to show you here."
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's comes part with it as well. Like if it was a sport that I was helping coach that I don't know the rules, like basketball or, you know, soccer, like I don't mind watching and I know how the game is played. I couldn't coach it. So if I had to assistant coach or coach a basketball team, I think I would hate it. But because it's like baseball, it's something I know, it's easy, you know, it's fun. And the strategy you enjoy, I that's why I like coaching it better than, you know, like just having to be there. But if it was something else foreign to me, no way.
Did you ever have a coach that you didn't like, or that?
Oh,
I
plenty.
feel like I had a series of great coaches, people I liked.
Yeah, I mean, I've had incredible coaches that, you know, have the stereotypical like impact on your life type stuff, like you know, like we're just all around good people, good role models.
Mm.
And then I've had like on the collegiate side, I had coaches that where it became more of like a job, like, you know, it turned into a job. And whenever anything turns into a job, there's something lost, you know, like the thrill and magic of it. um it's weird also. And like, you know, like once you get to like the collegiate level too, it's not necessarily all fun and games. You know, there's scholarships involved. There's the school, the prestige for the school, the you know, the fact that you want to win for the school, so they get notoriety and they get fame, and then you get more recruits in. So it's no longer you know, something that is just cool to do. It's actually like, it's like my job and their job to perform. And I think coaches lose some of that. It's almost like anybody that's been in a job for so long. Like if you were like a professional coach and you got paid for it and that was your job for like 25 years, like at a certain point, coaching just becomes like, we have office jobs. It's just like, just another day in the office, you know, like, so I've had coaches like that where they didn't make it engaging, I guess.
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
that's actually a good segue into the first tip for coaching your own kids, is to keep it fun, right? Tip number one, keep it fun. Children learn better when they're at play. They enjoy themselves better when they're at play. So keeping it fun. And at this level, mine are 5 years old. That's the only thing I think is important. Now, I do see kids out there who are more talented, who are learning the game, and that's great. That's a nice side aspect of it. But when you're 5 and under, you just have to make it fun and learn the fundamentals, right?
Yeah. Like I would argue that that number one tip applies through life.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
if you're doing a sport, you know, I'm a believer of like, once you start something, you don't quit. So, you know, like if you start the season, you finish the season out. But if by the end of the season you're not having fun, you're not into it anymore at any point in life, high school, college, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, if it's not fun, like there's no point in doing it at all.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that applies across the board with all of it.
Yeah. That's why I think parents sometimes don't do their kids any favors when they force them to continue to do it, even though the kid clearly doesn't enjoy it, with the, you know, hopes that they're going to get some sort of D1 scholarship or something like that, where we all know the chances are so minuscule. And, you know, there's at that point, if it's not fun, let them focus on other things that can make them successful in life.
Well, so that's perfect, because tip number 2 is to discover the sports goal of your child. So what are they trying to get out of it? What should they get out of it? And if obviously when you're out on the field, you see that parents have different goals set for each child, and some of them are to try to get that scholarship, while others are just trying to keep them from eating the grass.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting too, man, because like as parents, we have to be prepared for what their goals are too, right? Because if your child comes to you and says that, I want to pursue this and try and get a collegiate scholarship, that's a huge commitment on your part too, right? Like I have a friend right now whose daughter is in high school and she's an incredible softball player. And like every weekend, it's like, okay, this weekend we're in Tampa, this weekend we're in Miami. I mean, he's hiring video producers to produce highlight clips of her hitting and batting and fielding and all this sort of stuff. So there's financial, things that you have to look at. There's time commitments, there's travel commitments. So understanding what your kid wants to get out of it makes it not be a surprise to where you are just downright miserable sitting at seven softball games every weekend.
Well, I wonder if the excitement of having a child who's that good adds to that, right? Because if your child's not any good and you are sitting on the sidelines for 7 hours on a Saturday, at some point you're like, yeah, we got to cut bait. But I bet if your child is exceptional, like to play on those levels, that it is exciting to watch and that you are wondering what it's going to do next. And, oh, maybe we should make a highlight reel.
Yeah.
I mean, I could barely get us to soccer practice on Tuesday night. I'm like, it's kind of drizzling. Maybe we should.
It's funny because you interact with some parents, and it's also like, and maybe it comes in further down the list. You also have to kind of manage what you expect your kid to get out of it, not like just what the kid wants to get out of it, right?
Yeah.
And manage your own expectations, because that also changes how much you enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
One dad on the team we're currently on right now, it's a hassle getting there on time. So if the kid's not running, kid's not hustling, even when all the other kids are out there, just kind of like, walking back in after each inning, he's on this kid screaming at him. Like, I didn't come out here for this, to watch you walk around. I didn't come out here to watch you overthrow people. I'm like, all right, chill out a little bit. He's still a kid learning. And then at the same time, you also had a parent who, when the kid doesn't excel or play at the same level as all the other kids, but he's still out there having a good time and enjoying it.
Yeah.
But it bothers you because image is also a big thing as well with people, with parents especially. Like some parents are fine as long as the kid's having fun, and other parents, if their kid isn't competing at least at the same level as everyone else, that ruins that experience and affects how they coach as well. And the one guy last year in particular, his kid couldn't hit the ball. So then he started involving himself, and he'd come out and he'd get the kid ready at the plate, but he would almost jerk him around. And
was he a coach?
He was an assistant coach.
Okay.
Yeah. But then he would yell at the kid and get after the kid. And it's at some point you say, this kid's not going to want to play this game anymore because you've made it unenjoyable for him.
Yeah.
He has no problem when you're not here playing and having a good time. But the second you show up, it ruins the experience for him. And as he gets older, you keep doing that, it's going to make it just worse because kids are going to start noticing it, picking on you about it. It just doesn't make the situation any better.
Yeah. Well, that goes to number 4, which is examining your motives for coaching your child. And maybe that guy wants to, maybe he's reliving the experiences, or, he has different aspirations for the game than the child does. And then number 3, we skipped over, but it was use your experience with other coaches, which we talked about earlier. Having a good coach can change the entire aspect. You have a guy who's coming down on you, who's being down on you. It makes you turn away from the game. So kind of hit 2 there. It's perfect. Number 5 is an odd one. It says times have changed. Remember that your sports dreams and ambitions are a product of your childhood and that period of time, while your child's will have different ones. So, I guess that is true. Lacrosse was not a big sport when I was younger, right? But now it is. So I would have to embrace it if my kids wanted to get into lacrosse. So I understand that, traditionally you might say, well, they're going to play football, but now they're playing lacrosse or ice hockey versus something else. So
could be even the opposite too. It could be now with everything that we know about football, they don't play football, with head injuries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You might be the parent embracing something like that or trying to have that happen,
Sure.
What are you, some kind of anti-American? Number 6 is respect your child's individuality. He's an individual first and an athlete second. That's probably true until some certain age, right? I mean, if you get to high school and your kid's out there goofing around, you're not going to respect his individuality anymore.
Well, it goes back to what we're saying, right? Like, if at a certain point you realize you're just doing it to do it, just stop. Like, there are other things than athletics. There's hobbies, education, there's shit. You can get a job, you can get an internship.
Yeah.
There's so many things you could do that probably is a better use of your time if you just decide you're going to be a clown on the field every day.
Yeah. Number 7 is a funny one too. Listen more than you lecture. So encourage your child to communicate openly with you. So again, at the level I'm talking about, this is talking to children here. My kid's 5. I don't really go to him for advice or to tell me how to coach. I get what they're saying here, and I do want to hear what's happening on the field from their side of it. But I'm not going to sit there and, pretend that they know what's right. I don't.
I'll say this about that one. Like I should 100%. I have the best parents in the entire world, like without a doubt. You guys know how great they are. They've done everything for me my entire life. I will say, like when I was swimming, it was 5 to 6 days a week, 2.5 hours a day, Saturday mornings. I mean, it was intense, and God bless my dad for coming home from work, eating a quick dinner and taking me there every single day until I could drive and stuff like that. But there were times where, I mean, shit, I was a kid. Like, I had a bad practice. I was tired. I just wasn't into it. Like, maybe, like stupid girl stuff was happening, or it's weird teenager, puberty type stuff was happening. And every time I had a bad practice, like I just got in the car and I knew what was coming. Like, my dad didn't understand why I had a bad practice. And he would just get on me and be like, what happened? You're faster than that person. And that person was all over you at practice today, and blah, 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 blah. I wish at a certain point, instead of like getting on me, there was like hey, what happened tonight? Like, you just weren't into it. You didn't have it. Everything cool, everything good, like something going on. Like, that would have made a world of difference, because you can't be 110% every goddamn night. You can't.
Yeah. But your dad actually is, though.
That's true. That's true.
That's
true. Yeah, that's true.
So I tore down the house and I rebuilt it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, different generation, man. They were
definitely.
That comes down to times have changed as well, because the way your approach is going to naturally be different now.
Yeah.
And it's and a lot of it is generational and how it shook out and how it works. And then you say, all right, well, we're going to try it a little differently.
Well, let's be honest. Like, back then, like, men's feelings were inside, right? Like, never allowed out. Like, you just bottled that shit up. Now, our generation, it's a little bit more acceptable to talk about those sort of things, at least amongst like a close group of friends and stuff like that. And as it becomes more common, like, that generation just didn't, get that. Like, I know for a fact that his mom and dad weren't sitting him down and being like, giving his history, like, what's going, none of that, like, he's going to work with a broken back and breathing in nasty chemicals and negative 20-degree weather, and coming home and eating a dinner and driving me to swim practice. So he's like, suck it up.
I think one of my biggest problems is that I approach coaching and soccer in general with just the cynicism of an 80s and 90s guy. Like, who cares? Blow it off. This doesn't matter. Like, this is stupid. Like, none of this matters, guys. But at that level, it definitely matters. I just, I have a different headspace for it. Number 8 is another one I struggle with greatly. And I alluded to it earlier. It's treating your child equal to the other players. And I know that I'm just out there micromanaging them, telling them that, where to be on the field. No other parents doing that. The other parents are sitting back and letting their kid play. So I have to quit that. because I don't want this stress that I experience at home with them to then be out there on the field too. Like it's just what's happening at home now taking place on the soccer field.
Yeah.
And they really need the opportunity to spread out. So I need to back off.
Sure. We've talked about it before. I told you guys how we get out there, and I'm playing a position I'm really familiar with, and Henry gets assigned to it. I'm like, all right, but here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this, and he just looks at me. He's like, Dad, leave me alone. Don't tell me. I gotta play. Leave me alone. So it's come down to the point to where like I can't even try to coach him. So I wind up spending all my time with everyone else's kids, and I do micromanage him a little bit. I'm always yelling over like, "Hey, are you paying attention? Stop messing with your cup," stuff like that.
Yeah.
No other kid gets that treatment. The stop messing with your cup treatment. But other than that, it's me and it's everyone else's kids out there. And yeah, I let the coach handle him because it just doesn't work.
Probably a good move.
We're wrong either. Like, I don't know that it's wrong to tell your kid, hey, you should be here, or hey, stop playing with your cup and look, or turn around, the ball's coming, like that doesn't seem to be wrong.
Well, it also might be awkward too if the other coach is like directing he may be like, is he gonna do it? Or should me?
Yeah,
him?
right.
Like me? Do I do
this
it?
guy's out here talking to everybody else's kid.
Yeah, like what's the etiquette? Like, do I correct his kid or do I let him do it? Is he gonna get mad at me if I tell him to stop playing with his cup? Like,
Number 9 is be aware of your limitations. Really know your temperament, know your limits to your ability to coach, all that other stuff. So yeah, it's self-awareness. We could all use a little more self-awareness.
Yeah, for sure.
There.
I wanted to come back to something really quick. You were talking about how the personality of each kid, their individualism and stuff like that. And I was thinking to myself, like, well, at least I'm not the coach that's out there that has a kid that sits down and like rolls around in the grass the whole time. And then I thought to myself, we have that kid on our team right now, and he's just being himself. We put him at pitcher last week, and he literally just sat on the mound and like rolled around, kicked, was not involved in any play, even though every ball came to him, because that's where it comes to at this age. Yeah. And that's just him, and he's just going to be like that. And he's totally fine with it.
We have one on our soccer team, and I mean, he's literally out in left field, like just doing whatever he wants, yelling out weird things, just being himself. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to play soccer, clearly, so
do the parents come? Do the parents of those kids come?
So that parent is like hands-on and very on top of it, almost to the point where like she clearly knows that, like he doesn't want to do this, but he seems to be one of those kids that like, they're just trying to get him into a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Cause I remember I've had like growing up on like my T-ball teams and stuff like that. There were well-known kids that like that, like throw them in left field where the ball never comes. Like you'd have to be like, all right, the inning's over. But like 90% of the time, I felt like those kids, the parents walked them to practice or the game and then took off and then came back at the end, which is also a shame too. Like, they don't know any better because they don't have anyone there supporting them either, that's also like just a double shitty situation.
Tip number 10, be positive and criticize constructively. Pretty good at that one. I'm always been a cheerleader on the sidelines, juicing the guys up, high fives, lots of that kind of stuff. So
I've actually found that at this age that when you come at them with the other approach, because I'm clearly, I'm like you, Brian, I'm very positive, good try, here's what we're gonna do. And we do have a guy on our team who is very much like, one thing goes wrong, he gets hot and he starts like getting frustrated. And all I find is that it just makes the situation spiral further.
Yeah.
They start focusing too much, and then more mistakes start getting made. And then it just becomes a full meltdown.
Sure.
Where instead, if you just kind of let them do their thing and give them slight guidance and say, all right, good try. Here's how we could have done this next time, like it works so much more effectively.
Yeah.
Especially at this age.
Something with that one too, I think a good rule of thumb is like when practice or the game is over, like it's over. Like on the car ride home, if you're the coach, if the kid brings up the game, like, hey, what could I have done here? What did you think about that? I think it's okay to talk about it. But the last thing the kid wants, like on the car ride home, is to like relive the mistakes or your criticisms like over and over again, all the way to the drive to the house. Like, just let it be. Let's talk about like video games and, science and stuff like that.
Yep.
And not make it into like this never ending dilemma.
Number 11 is learn how to cool your temper when you're angry. So this may be for an advanced level of coach, or those coaches you see on, online fighting each other. Nothing scares me more than having to be involved in one of those parent versus umpire versus parent fights that you see on Star Hip Hop or whatever. That's frightening. I can't imagine ever getting to that spot. I think that I would just take my child and leave if the situation was getting that crazy.
Yeah, there's no need.
Right?
There's no
none
need.
of this. It goes back to what I was saying about none of this matters. Like, relax. Those umpires, they have a hard job. Everybody's tired. Everybody's grumpy. Everybody thinks they're right.
And the bottom line is too, they're all volunteers.
Yeah.
So they're just giving their time to give this because they're a fan or it's a kid trying to get some sort of volunteer hour or stuff like that. So cut them a break, like with all of it.
I wonder if there will be a decline in the number of umpires since the game is aging and there's not a lot of youth interest.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because, like I said, I've now been at 2 situations with soccer, with Hannah being in soccer, where last year it was a young kid and a parent got mad and threatened the kid. He was 15 out there coaching the game and told him if he didn't get better calls that there was going to be a problem.
Yeah, must be real proud.
And so and now that kid's like, I
don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, and he's a volunteer. His mom is sitting on the other sideline waiting for him to get done. And then this year, same thing. And dad starts yelling at the ref and giving him a hard time. And yeah, it's just, it doesn't get any better. And that guy, he's one guy. We have one ref for all the teams in this league right now. So that's why, like, some games we're now playing at 8:00 at night for 9-year-olds. Which is it's just way too late. But we have to work around his availability. And then he shows up, and the guy's a cop. He's out patrolling, working the beat all day, being a cop, and then he comes out, volunteers his time to ref 2 back-to-back soccer games twice a week, and parents are giving him shit for it. And you're like, check yourself, man. Like, this guy's just a volunteer doing something you clearly didn't volunteer to do.
Yeah.
So
that reminds me of that. Like, what is it in Clerks where it's like, I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Yeah.
Like,
he's
what's
putting
going
on his cleats, just imagining parents throwing water bottles at him.
It's just a nightmare.
As a cop, what am I allowed to do?
Yeah.
Number 12 is use assistance. It's always good to have backup to get somebody else's opinion, spread out the love. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Use team meetings. So you gather the kids together, ask for the team input.
I do like in this one where they suggest a suggestion box.
Yeah.
Like, hey kids, we're all 6 here. If you could just grab a crown and write your suggestion on my coaching style. Like,
I'll tell you what,
is it effective? What would you change?
It's just going to be suggestions for the team name.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What's our mascot?
Yeah, team meetings. Okay. Let's see. Tip number 14. Children need to experience a sense of mastery. So, letting them get some wins, letting them see the development of their skills, and knowing why it's important. I guess right now, the thing I'm afraid of is that you can see there are very good kids and there are some kids who don't have the basic skills. And when they realize that, that must be a hit to a young child to realize, oh, I'm not as good as him. I don't remember how I approached that as a kid. Do you guys remember that?
I think like as a parent, that's your job to be like, all right, maybe this sport isn't it for you, buddy. Let's try something else,
Yeah.
type thing.
Or
Because
you just say, you can get that good. You just have to work harder.
Yeah. Good
We
point.
practice more, we try more, and get more coaching, and you can be that good.
I remember distinctly, like without a doubt, the exact time in my swimming career where I knew it was over. Like I could still swim, but it was just for fun. Like I wasn't going to be the Olympic hopeful. And it was like the 1990, like four or like 1995 meet of champions at the Glen Olden Swim Club. And I was seated second in the 100 IM, and the person next to me was Brendan Hansen. And I remember like getting on the block, and I was like, oh man, I'm going to tear this guy up. He doesn't have a chance. I'm pumped. I have my head shaved and everything. Like it was like go time. That dude hit the water and was like, ah. I was like, all right, we're swimming for second place. We're swimming for second place. I mean, and what happened? He went on to be the world record holder in 100 and 200 breaststroke, right? He's got
Wow.
Olympic gold medals. He was on Michael Phelps relay. Like, I just got a hard dose of reality. And that happens. It's healthy. One of the best pieces of advice my parents ever gave me, my dad in particular, was like, look, there's always somebody out there who's smarter, faster, stronger, taller, like whatever it is, there's going to always, you're not going to be the best at everything. The chances of being the best in the world are so slim. So, make the most of it, have fun, do the best you can so that at the end of the day, you're proud of yourself and what you put into it. And just don't waste your time.
When you think about David Goggins and how great and
Oh yeah,
he is
yeah.
at everything he does, and he's not the best at anything.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Like he has world records, but there's always somebody who beats his world record for as crazy as you think he is. So if you guys want to check it out, Nick and I did a whole interview over the David Goggins book, Can't Hurt Me. We recommend it to everyone. Check that out on Verdicks. The last one here is to keep sports in perspective, maintaining that sport and life balance.
Yeah.
You don't want to get overcome with performance anxiety. You don't want to be dreading going to your next practice. You want to maintain good relationships with people in your community and with your own kids. So just remember what's really important. And at the end of the day, most people aren't going to go on to become the professional athletes. And that's okay. Just recognize what level you're coaching at. Try to be good to the kids. If you got a problem parent, they're just going to be there. I'm sorry. The jerks from high school went on to have kids, and now those kids play soccer, and you have to see them all over again. Sorry.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah. I see you out there, Schmidt.
Yeah, I think go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say one of the other important things is also with every sport, there's always that perceived position that is undesired. Baseball, especially
Catcher.
like the catcher, outfield, soccer, it's, normally like defense or goalie, younger ages.
Mhm.
But let the kids play those positions, because that may be something where your kid finds that they really like. And as they get older and they start playing that sport more, that's where they develop and they put their passion into that, and they can become a really good catcher. Something that you weren't planning for them to do, because everyone wants their kid to be the, cleanup batter, playing first base, but that's not always going to be the case. Not everyone's going to be the quarterback. Yeah. Some kid might be the long snapper, but there's plenty of success to be had there. And as long as the kid's having fun doing that and they can be really good at it and excel at it, don't deter that, especially at the younger age. Like I said, I've seen parents go to the coaches and demand that their kids be pulled out of net playing goalie in soccer because that's a waste of their time.
That's not cool.
But, you don't know, that kid could be really good and really enjoy it.
Every crew team needs a coxswain, right?
like, and so don't discourage that and don't get angry and judgy as to where it is, because your kid is learning every position and finding their place.
One of the things I like most about sport is when you transition from fundamentals and mechanics to strategy. So I think when they get older, I'll actually like teaching the strategy of the game.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Yeah.
At this level, it's just herding
It's
cats.
just chaos.
But the strategy of the game interests me, and teaching somebody the strategy of the game and how to see a field.
Yeah.
That comes along with age, but the younger you can install that, the better the player they will be.
Yeah. The most, by far, the most enjoyment I had in coaching was the high school team, because it's a different animal. They're receptive. They're probably doing it because they want to do it in college, so they're invested. They listen to what you have to say. You know, it's a cool experience. But like at the end of the day, I think my biggest takeaway is like, if you're not ready for the responsibility of coaching, don't do it. Like, it doesn't matter if you're coaching your kid. It doesn't matter if you're coaching other kids. It doesn't matter if you're a high school team, whatever it is. Like, it's a ton of responsibility. Like, and you need to be aware of that up front. It's a ton of commitment. Little kids, big kids, old kids, they're all looking to you, whether you want them to or not, how you act, how you react, how you carry yourself, and all that sort of stuff. So know that before you go into it. Like, it's not a walk in the park. And that's not to scare anybody away, but if you're going to be molding the future generations or guiding the next generation as they prepare for college or whatever it is that they do, like, that's a ton of responsibility on your shoulders, and you should be aware of it. You should think about it. You should contemplate on it before you make the decision to coach. You don't do anybody's favors by going into this half-ass. Nobody.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Any other coaching tutelage knowledge we could pass along?
No, man. Just be the cool coach too, man. I always had fun being the cool coach.
So
Like,
I got one. The coach of our team, great guy, very good with kids. Like, you could tell that, this isn't his first rodeo. We are Team Italy. So after the first game, he's like, "Who wants cannolis?" And he had fresh cannolis for Team Italy.
That's awesome.
And I thought, man, what a great touch. That was
Yeah.
pretty cool. So yeah, the things like that, and be
Don't-
reliable.
Don't take yourself seriously, right? Like, just go out there,
I think that's the tip for life.
Yeah.
Don't take.
We used to have this stupid thing where, like, I used to have the ability to take a swim cap and put it over my head and like suction it and then blow it all the way up into like this massive balloon. And we'd have like all the little kids cheering around me in the baby pool. And then at the end, I'd shoot it off and they'd all go nuts. Like, those are the things that I remember about coaching, man. Like, seeing the smile on those kids' faces and the high fives. And even if it was like came down to the last relay and the last lap, and like, if we won the meet, and we lost, you're the guy that has to go over and slap that kid high five and tell them that they did their best and that you're never more proud of them. And like, that's what it's all about. That's, at the end of the day, situations like that, dude, it gives me chills to think of like the impact you might have had on somebody's life doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we have to build them up. We have to build them up.
Yeah.
Yep. I hear you. Well, that was a good one, guys. Stuff like this, check out verdicks.com. Check out our YouTube channel. Come back. We're going to try to do these more frequently. We say that all the time. We'll see.
This time we are. All right.
We'll see you next time.
Shields up.
Peace.
Peace up.